Are all people mentally ill?
I have no idea.
Is this the Dr. Ray?
I'm out of work. How do I find a job?
I don't know.
Boy, you hit the nail right on the head there.
Now, why would I say something so dumb?
I don't know.
I don't remember what I said. Help me out.
I listen to you all the time. You're my shot in the arm.
Well, it makes sense from your perspective and your individual brain.
And I guess that's true, but doggone.
Well, are you better than God?
No way.
I think I'm going to have to change this channel. I'm sorry.
Oh, no!
Great stuff, Dr. Ray. I'm glad I called.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
You've heard of the movie The Incredible Shrinking Man. You are tuned into The Incredible Manly Shrink. Dr. Ray Guarendi here. Program The Doctor is In. That is me. I am the doctor. Not a real doctor. It was a trauma for my kindergarten son when he found out, Dad, why do they call you doctor? Well, Andrew, that's because I got some schooling that allows me to have that name. Well, can you give shots? No. I took a shot in basketball once from outside the three-point circle. But you can't give shots like you could get like something like a needle or something, Dad? No. Well, then I don't think you should be called doctor. You want to have little kids? They will humble you. They will do this. I will not humble you on this program. If you call in, I will affirm you where you can be affirmed. I will correct you where I speculate. This is only my speculation. Who am I to say I'm going to correct you? Speculate. You could need correction. I will guide you where you might need guidance. I will speak where you should probably speak. I will listen, for close to 8 or 9 seconds before I interrupt. So the number to get onto the program, 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal. Multiple reasons. Most common reason is situations or circumstances you have a question about, something you just want to, sort of bounce off of me, which hurts because I'm getting older and brittle now. Or if you have a comment, we get a lot of nice comments. People have great insights. It's wonder. I learn an awful lot from you folks. I truly do. I mean, most of what I learn, of course, is in the therapy session, but it's nice to get a sample size of the stuff that people are talking about, concerned about, questioning. Sometimes we get questions about the faith as it intersects with psychology. That's usually my favorite type of speculation. Sometimes we have generic questions. People don't understand a particular term, particular diagnoses, a particular intelligence test. Or Dr. Ray, what is projective testing? Did you take projective testing when you were in graduate school? What's the theory behind projective testing? And I'm going to do that as a monologue here in a second. So the number, 877-573-7825, 877-57 equal is the number. Dr. Ray, do you think that some people are too judgmental? I do. I do think that. And I can tell just by looking at them. Yeah, I can tell just by looking at them. Okay, what do I want to do here? Projective testing. See, I had to take, was it a semester or a year of projective testing? Now, what is projective testing? The theory behind projective testing is predicated, going way back to Sigmund Freud. Wel, I hade lusa Melinda's drool. A projective test is a picture or an ink blot that you present to a person, and by their very nature, they're vague. They can be interpreted in a whole bunch of ways. The thematic apperception test is you're supposed to tell a story about that picture. And in telling that story, you reveal stuff about yourself. When you look at an ink blot, you say that that looks like a bear running through a football field, or whatever it looks like. You're supposed to be projecting your inner conflicts onto that stimulus, that picture, that ink blot. That's the theory behind it. What does the research show? Well, about the only way that it's useful is that it may give you interview material. For example, if I tell a story based upon a picture that you show me on this thematic apperception test, and I tell this story, well, it may be that in telling the story, I give you some insights or some information that you can ask me about it. So why did you happen to say that was your mom in the picture? Because that looks like it. You can't tell. Why would you say that's your mom? So that kind of thing. Now, you can do that. But for the most part, the idea that I'm going to project my inner conflicts, my buried repressions, all those things onto that blot, not too many practitioners do that anymore. That was back in the early days of psychological testing, and that was the magic that psychologists were supposed to have. See, the psychiatrists were the MD dudes, and they could do the medication and that kind of stuff. But the psychologists, we had to have something that set us apart, and what that was our ability to do psychological testing, personality testing. Which, by the way, personality testing is it's a fuzzy thing. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I've talked about it in the past, not the least of which is that personality characteristics are fuzzy things. Nevertheless, the whole idea that somebody's going to give you 10 ink blots and you're going to look at them and then the person's going to analyze them and then they're going to tell you all about yourself on the basis of how you responded to those ink blots can be pretty shaky. But that's the theory behind it. So I just wanted to give you a heads up in case you go to a person and they do an analyzing of your 9-year-old and say, well, I gave him an ink blot test and here's what I think your 9-year-old thinks. He thinks that you stink as parents. And I would say, well, I don't know if you needed an ink blot to tell me that. He's told me that. Okay. All righty, 877-573-7825. Got some nice questions up there. Please don't go away. Don't leave me. I'll be getting to you shortly.
Today's programming is brought to you in part by a gift from our day sponsor. The annual Rose Mass for Catholic healthcare workers, celebrated by Bishop Boyer, takes place on Saturday, March 14th at 5 p.m. at St. Francis in Ann Arbor, followed by a dinner reception. Dr. Bob Collins, nationally recognized oncologist, will share his journey of conversion and stories of grace and healing. Suggested donation is $25. RSVP at bit.ly/Rosemass.
I've learned through positive intelligence that I'm hyper vigilant at times, and the hyperachiever saboteur in me can sometimes get in my way. People with hyperachiever wear success like armor, always chasing the next goal, the next win, the next validation. On the surface, it looks like drive, but underneath, it's fear. Fear of failure, fear of being seen as not good enough. And ironically, that fear becomes the very thing that sabotages true success. Fear comes from the enemy. When we're ruled by the hyperachiever, we measure worth by performance. We become so focused on achievement that we lose sight of our purpose. But here's the truth. Real success isn't just about results. It's about resilience. It's about showing up whole, not perfect. When we quiet that hyperachiever and lead from Christian values, not fear, we unlock a deeper kind of excellence, one rooted in Christian courage, not comparison. This has been a Christ-centered communication message. I'm Vanessa Denhagarmo, a communications evangelist and host of Epiphany.
Hey, Catholic parents, could you use a break? Parenting is hard, especially at this time of year, and burnout can steal the joy right out of family life.
Join us, Dr. Greg and Lisa Popchak, on Wednesday, March 18th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for a free webinar sponsored by Ave Maria Radio titled Reclaiming the Joy of Parenting, Overcoming Burnout.
Discover practical, faith-filled ways to recharge your batteries and reclaim the joy of parenting. Register today at AveMariaRadio.net. Don't miss it. Your family's worth it.
Just sitting by the beach, sipping one of them umbrella drinks. I don't drink at all. And I remember when I used to play the organ in the various restaurants, there were some very talented guys that entertained, but they always had an alcohol right there sitting on the top of their piano or the organ. And I saw kind of what it did to them as the night went on, and I thought, this is not good. This is not good. Now, obviously, there were other moral reasons why I didn't drink, but that was a practical one. Okay, Richard from Kettleton, Oregon. Hi, Richard. Hello there. Hello there, Richard. How are you?
Yeah, good. I've called you before. I called you when our adopted little one was having trouble eating. Now we're having troubles with her sleeping. So
did I fix the eating?
She's tired.
Did I fix the eating?
Yeah, you did fix it.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. I should not have have asked you to say that, you know. Yeah. Okay.
We raised kids and everything went good, and then we adopted this one when she was 2. Oh, sorry. She's 4 now, and she's given us some problems with the eating. We got that solved. The sleeping, we put her to bed at 8 o'clock. She doesn't take a nap. She's really tired, and she lays there in bed, and she tosses and turns. She throws her blanket over her head. So we've taken the bedding off. We've taken her snuggle toys away. And now we're to the point where we'll go in there and we'll take a toy away so you don't get this back till you start sleeping. And, of course, she doesn't have hardly any toys now. This has been going on for a few nights now. But she'll toss and turn for like hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And so I was wondering if you had any suggestions.
Well, I got several. What time does she get up in the morning?
Probably 8 o'clock.
So she's getting probably 11 hours of sleep, right? By the time she falls asleep, maybe for an hour later, 9 o'clock, she's getting 11 hours of sleep, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty good for a little kid. Here's one of the rules I've often offered parents. I don't care that you toss and turn. That's okay. Here's your stuffed animal. That's okay with me, too. As long as you're not getting out of bed, I don't have any problem. That wouldn't bother me.
Okay.
Because you got physiology on your side. Let's say that she tosses and turns, and it's a particularly rough night, man. It's 10:15, and she's still up there singing herself to sleep or something. And the next morning, she wants to sleep in. She wants to sleep till 9 or 9:30 because she's tired. Well, if you get her up at 8 o'clock and say, come on, honey, we're going to get up, that night she's probably going to be a little more tired, and she's not likely to toss and turn quite as much. You got physiology on your side. When she's tired, she's going to sleep.
My wife is just worried about her being tired when she starts going to preschool next year.
Well, you're future projecting, Richard. You're assuming this is going to go on for another year. It's not going to go on for another year. It's just a matter of, okay, so this kid, for whatever the reason, is not an easy sleeper. Okay, got that. But she's not getting out of bed. She's not resisting bedtime. She's just laying there, and she's amusing herself, whatever she's doing. I'd give her the toys back. I personally give her the stuffed animal back. I'd say, here you go, baby. Here, you can have it back. But you can't get out of bed. You get out of bed, you get in trouble. I'll stand you in the corner. But sort of that, go ahead kind of thing.
Okay.
That doesn't bother me. She's going to sleep regulate, I would think. And unless you got some real significant sleep problems here. And at this point, it doesn't yet look like that's anything. It's just kind of started. The other thing, too, is you mentioned something interesting. You raised some bio kids prior to her?
Yep.
Different ball game, my friend.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to talk anybody out of adoption, but your little daughter, did you adopt her from foster care? Did you adopt her? Was there drug and alcohol exposure?
No, it was from a previous marriage. So it was a stepdaughter that I had kept in touch with, and she got into some difficulties, and we took her in her baby, and she wasn't really capable of really taking care of the baby, and she wanted to go do her own thing. So anyhow, luckily DHS talked us into adopting her, and we adopted her, and then she went on her separate way. And actually, we've been having a little bit of problems with that because now she hadn't even seen her for over a year, and now she's like demanding her back. Of course, we're saying no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, if you have custody, if you have custody, then that's your decision.
Yeah, and we're trying to figure out a way to reconnect her without being a big problem with the child, and we're not sure.
Well, you can say we'll consider this down the road, not now. We'll consider it down the road. It'd be too confusing to her right now. You can do that. The other thing is this.
Yeah, and we can't. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
You probably are safe in saying that your stepdaughter's prenatal practices, whichever that included, maybe lack of care, lack of nutrition, perhaps drug or alcohol, who knows, the womb environment was not as safe and sound as your wife's womb environment. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that means there's a chance that your little girl's going to be a little tougher to raise. She's going to have more of these kinds of bumps going along that you'll have to deal with that you didn't have to deal with the other kids. All right. That's not unusual nowadays since so many kids are coming from situations that are more at risk. All right. That said, yeah, you're just going to have to deal with this. She's laying in bed, putzing around up there. Okay. Get her up. You don't have to sleep deprive her, but get her up so that she's going to be kind of tired. Now, some people will tell you, well, move her bedtime back. Okay, if she's going to roll around there till 9 o'clock, let her stay up till 9 o'clock. Yeah, you can do that. There's nothing there that says bedtime has to be 7 o'clock or 7:30 for a 4-year-old. Yeah, most of them do, but okay, you got some flexibility, you got some wiggle room. But I think the bigger problem is what's causing the panic here, Richard, is that your wife is thinking, oh no, the preschool experience is going to be terrible because she's going to be tired and she's not going to know how to sleep. But we got to get her we got to force sleep on her. That's the one thing about sleep. You can't force it on somebody.
Yeah, that's what
you just set up the situation where she's in bed and ultimately she's going to fall asleep, especially if she's a bit tired when she goes there, which is later bedtime or a little bit earlier getting her up. That should do it.
Yeah,
I fixed you once. I fixed you once.
Yeah, to get her up early. Yeah. All right. Hopefully, my wife will listen.
Well, Richard, I hope this is not a sign that I'm going to have to raise your kid. You know? Because I don't know if I got that many years left in me.
Yeah, well, I was going to retire this year, but I'm going to stick it out for a few more years now.
Thank you for the call, my friend. You take good care.
Hey, thank you.
All righty. All right, Sarah, let's see. The dad who went to Mass. Okay, Sarah's got to put a little bit of details around this one because I don't recall this. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Yo, Sarah. How are you, dear?
Dr. Ray.
I'm fine, honey. What? I don't remember that call. Tell me.
It was very much at the end of the day for you, and it was a girl that was talking about she and I think she had 4 or 5 siblings, and 4 of them still were, going Catholics. The other one questioned it, but their father went to daily mass, but he was just really a difficult man, and he was hard on them and not.
Yeah. He wasn't the greatest dad, and they couldn't understand. Yeah. Man, you're going to mass every day, and this is how it's translating?
Yes. So I heard that, and I just really wanted to call, but it was the end of your day, so I couldn't. But I wanted to say that I go to daily mass, and when people...
And you're not a very good dad?
I'm a lousy dad.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I only go for one reason, and that is to stay connected to what keeps me from being evil. It's my help. It's my source. It's my strength. And so I'm thinking that's maybe what his thought was, that he could be a serial killer if he didn't do that. And I won't be a serial killer, but I can be really mean and harsh sometimes on people. And this is what helps me, and especially the reading today was talking about, how going there and connecting with God helps you to summon that strength and that help and rely on it. That keeps you from being a lousy person. So that's what I just wanted to add, that I'm another person, probably not unlike their dad, who goes for a reason.
Well, you have spurred something in me that I didn't remember, and you talking about it made me remember it, which is, you familiar with the guy, I think his name was Oscar Wilde? He was an author, and I guess he was pretty much known as a curmudgeon, but I think he became a Christian. I think that's the story. I hope I'm getting this right. Maybe I'm thinking of another author. And a woman said to him, and I said this in the answer to the question yesterday, a woman said to him, "You call yourself a Christian? You're one of the more obnoxious people I know." And he said, "Ma'am, what you say may be very true, but you should have seen me before I was a Christian."
There you go.
Yeah, so that kind of parallels what you're saying there, Sarah. You Sarah, would be a wretch otherwise, right?
I would be, and sometimes I am. And I have to remind myself and say, ask for grace so I don't retaliate to someone. And it works and it helps to all those who might be thinking that they're quote unquote not worthy to go to daily mass. Go and see how much it helps you. My sister is a crazy woman beyond belief. She's actually a medical doctor, but she's out of her mind and she swears like a trooper and everything. And her husband will say, why do you go to daily mass? She has the same thought I have, which is, without it, we'd be a million times worse. So we both go.
Well, I am sure glad that you called me after many years of going to Mass, because I would have been real nervous what you would have been like had you called me 6 years ago. I don't know what I would have got myself into. We'd have probably had to cut you off.
I think you would have.
All right, dear.
Thank you, Dr. Ray, for all the wonderful work you do. I love listening to you. I turn you on right when Mass, which is at 12:10, right about the time, depending on how long the sermon was, or the homily. I turn you on as I'm leaving church. It's a church here in Rochester that has a 12:10 Mass.
Do you tell Father to shorten up the homily if it looks like he's going to cut into my time?
I do that, kind of like your hand across your throat. Like
Tell him. Just just hold up a sign that says, "The doctor is in 12 minutes, Father." Yeah, something like that.
Will do. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks, Sarah. I'll talk to you. Bye. Okay, suggestion from Rachel. I'll get to your calls. You got some folks up there, but a suggestion. This is from Rachel. And yes, Rachel, you're absolutely correct, my dear. These are all nice little things you can do, but my concern, at least at that point, was to calm the parents down because that was Mom's big worry. However, all this stuff works. Make sure you turn the TV off an hour before bedtime. Yeah, the TV, the blue lights, all that kind of stuff. That's been shown to stimulate. A story, bedtime story. Now, a lot of times I am guilty of assuming they're doing this. That'd be my guess. They sound like, Richard sounds like just a good dad, and so I'm going to assume he read a story, so I don't want to say, now read a story to him, Richard, because he'll go, yeah, well, we do that, and I just lost 8 seconds worth of advice. And warm milk with vanilla and sugar. Yes, milk contains a precursor called tryptophan. Tryptophan is something that's involved in sleep chemicals. So, see, I know these things. See, I don't just say warm milk. I know the precursor, tryptophan. And I didn't even look it up. I just knew it. So, yes, those are all good thoughts, Rachel. Thank you so much. And Andrew says, I eat turkey. Yes, a turkey sandwich turkey also has tryptophan in it. That's right. That is right. It's right. And, that's not good. And I read one of Dr. Ray's books, and I usually get past about the first half of the first page, and I'm gone. That would explain it. My wife has had my very first book that I wrote many decades ago by her nightstand, and it's still there, and she's only about a third of the way through it. I think, man, it's been there for years. Okay, get to your calls here in a second. Got a couple of pieces of business here. Good Lord permitting. the Babel Conference, which is, I think, aptly named after me. No, not that kind of Babel. BABL, Bringing America Back to Life. It's a huge pro-life conference in suburbs of Cleveland, Rockside Road. Those of you in the Rock listening area, you know where that is. This whole weekend, and I think they still have tickets. And they said one of the reasons they still have tickets is because I'm speaking. He said normally they sell out, but they found out I'm speaking on Friday. And so this, matter of fact, they have seating for 1,000, and I think they still have 988 tickets left, something like that, if you're counting. I think my wife's gone. Anyway, they do have tickets left. So the Babel Conference. I want to congratulate EWTN radio partner, KSGS FM 99.9, serving Rio Grande City, Texas. 15 years on the air. Wonderful. And I want to pronounce this right. Raul, is it Raul Smith? R-O-E-L, Raul Smith. Did you type that wrong, Eric? Is it Raul Smith? I don't know. And his team at the Good News Catholic Radio for all of us here at EWTN. Okay. Ed is going to try to figure out how to keep himself a little more settled in a situation that he hasn't been able to do anything about. Hi, Ed.
Oh.
What's up, sir?
I've been trying to get a hold of my kids, and I'm to a point where I'm about ready to give up.
They won't answer?
No,
nothing? No, how old are they?
Nothing.
How old?
My oldest is 23, going on 24. I somewhat had communication, and all of a sudden she just stopped. And I've got twins that are 18, and I haven't spoken to them in 10 years.
Why is this, Ed? What's the story there? How did that get on that kind of momentum?
Went through a divorce. And one day I was married, and the next day I had nothing.
But your kids at that time were young teens or adolescents, so how is it that they decided they don't want to talk to you at all from that point forward? How'd that happen?
No, nobody will say anything to me. I asked for their phone numbers for my mother, and my mother just looks at me like a deer in headlights. I'm to a point here where I don't even talk about my kids, because when I walk into a room, people look at me and turn around. So I don't know what happened.
Well, I don't either, because I would have thought you would have tried to explore a little bit of what happened.
Explore?
At least at the beginning, sir. At the beginning, before it solidified. In other words,
it went from putting my kids on the bus every day, going to school when they got hurt, to you need a chaperone to be with your kids.
Were you in trouble with the law?
Excuse me?
Were you in trouble with the law?
No, never.
So the judge ruled, and I know I'm going into history here, sorry about that, but I just got to clarify this for me. The judge ruled that you were not allowed to have visitation unless it was supervised.
Exactly.
Now, see,
my kids even,
for that to happen, Ed, for that to happen, you had to be accused of something.
Well, I'd like to know. My guess is just as good as yours.
Okay. All right, well, let's bring it fast forward to today.
Yeah, let's bring it
fast
forward.
Here's what I would suggest. Write a letter, do a text, something.
Oh, I already have. I get through my kids through my mother. At Christmas time, I send them a...
Yeah, you're misunderstanding me. Wait, you're misunderstanding me. I'm saying a different kind of letter. Not, I'm here. Because every time you do that, they get mad and they don't respond, right? They don't want to hear it, correct?
Nobody.
Okay, here's what you do. You say, kids, I don't have any idea what's going on. I'm confused. However, I will respect your wishes. It seems very clear to me that you want to have no contact with me whatsoever. I hope down the road that changes and that we can connect again. But for right now, I will not push myself on you. I will respect your wishes. That's what you're doing. Now, you don't have to do that. That's what I would do.
Well, and on the other hand, I've got my mother that's up my butt telling me I need to contact my kids. And
well, it doesn't matter what your mother wants. It matters what you want to do.
So I'm up in the air right now.
Your mother says you need to contact your kids. Well, you have, Ed, and they don't want to contact you back. So at some point, you got to respect that. You got to say, okay.
Well, I do respect it. The thing is, when I send them something at Christmas time, my mother says that my kids have told her that they call me or they send me a text, and I says, Ma, if they would, I'd have their number, their phone number. I said, I don't have their phone number, and she just looks at me like a deer in headlights, and I know she has their numbers.
Well, my friend, I gave you my thoughts on that, and at some point you got to respect that they don't want to contact you, and the more you push, the more you push them away.
Oh, okay. So I guess at Christmas time I'll be up in Yang Yang because I think I'm just going to stop sending.
Well, let me ask you this, Ed. Ed, a quick question: how many Christmases past have you contacted them without any response?
10 years.
Right.
I'll be honest. 10
exactly.
Years.
So when will you say they don't want to hear from me?
I think that's where I am right now. I've had people ask me how my kids are doing, and I'll tell them I don't have kids.
That's I wouldn't say that. I'd say I don't know.
That's to a point. That's where I am. One guy asked me a few weeks ago about if I had kids, and I told him, I says, I really don't know. I said, the way the court treated me, I wasn't. But
okay,
he was a little shocked when I said that.
Well, that would be my suggestion. You obviously don't have to take it, and your mom doesn't have to listen to it, but that would be mine. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the call. Okay, got to take a break here. 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal is the number. National Life Rosary. Turn to Mary, the Mother of God, for help bearing witness to the gift of life with the National Life Rosary. It's designed exclusively for EWTN. Wow. Pray for and build a life, a culture of life. So centerpiece and crucifix represent the reality that all life is sacred. Begins at conception. That's right. According to a survey of several thousand PhD biologists, counter to what some very knowledgeable theologian politicians say about the Catholic Church, that in fact, something like 94% of them, when asked, when does life begin? PhD physiologists, biologists, at conception. And I'm sure many of them were not even religious. They were just following the science. Avoiding all known forms of psychobabble. I cannot hear where you're coming from. I can't go with that. Janet, come on. I needed your comment there. All right, well, I'll get to you in a second. I gotta add to what I was saying with our previous caller, Ed. This idea of always reaching out, always reaching out, always reaching out. At some point, you got to make a judgment. If the person not only doesn't want to hear from you, and they give no response whatsoever, nothing, not even an itch of a response back, you're probably pretty safe in assuming you're ticking them off. Their attitude is, leave me alone. And so it's very tough for people to decide where that point is. That's why I asked Ed, how many Christmases have you done this? 10 years. And how many Christmases have they not responded? 10 years. Okay, Janet, I'm going to answer your question there in a second. You missed it. This is why I am the professional. So in fact, at some point, and I'm finding myself doing this more often now with clients who come into my office, say, look, I've tried and reached out, and they don't want to. At the very least, I'm getting nothing back. At the very worst, I'm getting hostile back. Then I tell them, at some point, you have to respect it. You have to say, I respect the fact that you want no contact with me. I will no longer continue to push myself upon you, but just know I'm here anytime that you want to reconnect, or anytime you want to talk, or anytime you want to get together, I'm here. Now, when you do that, it becomes something of I'm giving up. I'm just giving up. Well, not really, because you're not giving up anything that you had any success in. They hold the cards. You have a hand with a 6-high card. You've got an ace, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is basically, well, no, okay, let's make it a 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is basically the lowest hand you can have. And they've got a royal flush. All right. Let's go to Janet here. Now, Janet said this. Janet said, comment for the first caller. She wanted to say that if the daughter didn't take a nap during the day, she could sleep better at night. That is very true. However, Janet, were you listening? Dad said very shortly into the call, she doesn't take a nap. I know. I listened. My spidey senses were up. But you're right, though, Janet, about that. That is true. Without a 2-hour nap during the day, or some kids go longer, and some parents wake their kids up. You know, the little 2-year-old gets woken up because if he sleeps for 3 hours as much as he wants to sleep, he's going to be tossing and turning until 10, like that. I will say this, though, regarding Dad's call. If she's just putzing around in bed like that, but she doesn't get out of bed, my experience has been that there is a growing likelihood that she will get out of bed. At some point, she'll realize, hey, you know, I don't have to just lay here and toss and turn. I can get up. I can get up and say I got to go to the bathroom, or I can get up and want to drink, or I can get up and go stand next to my parents' bed, or I can get up and call them 16 times. Yeah, they're very, very twicky at that age. 877-573-7825. Got some lines open. If you'd like to call in, we'll take you. We'll take you right now. Anything else I want to say here? I know we got some calls coming in, but I do want to add I want to add to my adding, which is the hardest thing for many parents is to say, I'm going to respect the fact that you want no contact with me. Maybe that's the bad word, respect. Maybe accept. I'm going to accept that you want no contact with me. I like the word respect because it basically says I'm going to show you that I will acknowledge your, I don't want to say right to do this, but really it is a right to do that. Everybody has the right to be wrong. So, yeah, these kids could choose to cut off contact, or in this case, these young adults. There's too much unknown there in Ed's call. Way too much unknown. If he were in my office, I'd be doing all kinds of digging. This doesn't make sense. First of all, it's unusual for all three for 10 years to want no contact. What's going on? Is their mother poisoning them toward Dad? Has there been some kind of accusation? All of a sudden, it was like they flipped the switch and said, we will have no contact with you whatsoever, at all, at any time, all three of us. Something in this puzzle piece is missing. Drop that puzzle on the floor, and we can't find a couple of those pieces. Because I have that in therapy a lot, where it's the third session, and then something comes out that didn't come out in the first session or two, which really makes it clear, which really ties it all together. But I couldn't figure out, well, this doesn't seem to be making any sense here. Why is this happening given what I've been told. And then it's what I call the, oh, by the way, I thought might be important. And then they'll say, and he's an alcoholic. All right, 877-573-7825. This is Dr. Ray. Thank you for keeping me company.
This program is brought to you by the following nonprofit underwriter.
Are you longing to hear God's voice? Lord, Teach Me to Pray, the free Ignatian prayer series will open your heart to His voice, to the peace you are seeking, and the only love that fulfills the human heart, Jesus. God is calling you to true joy, knowing Jesus personally. Lord, Teach Me to Pray is free. Go to LordTeachMeToPray.com, click on the red box, order the Lord Teach Me to Pray series now. Go to LordTeachMeToPray.com.
Food for the Journey's Sister Ann Shields.
We have a tendency to make idols. We exalt other people to the place that really belongs to God. And we see it. We see it in sports. We see it in beauty contests of all kinds. We see all kinds of ways in which we idolize certain people. We elevate them because there's something in us that wants to be able to look up to someone. But that person is Jesus. And you idolize if you're thinking about them, if you're imitating them, if you're occupying yourself with the things that they do. Oh, we'd say, oh, no, I don't worship false idols. But in effect, we do. If our time, our attention, and our money are going to things or people that aren't worth it. We are to have the Lord front and center and the Lord exalted in our lives, everything directed to Him and back through Him to His people. But we human creatures, we go after something that touches us in some way or we desire to be like them, and so we start imitating them, and we get ourselves sidetracked. Let's fix our gaze on the Lord. Let's imitate Him, and then we're going to know the kind of worship that sets us free.
Sister Ann Shields gives you Food for the Journey, weekday mornings at 6:45 and again at 11:30 on 990 Ave Maria Radio.
Okay, I got a question here that I've been putting off, and I have to kind of answer because I've been holding it away. It's kind of detailed. I'll try to summarize it. Does hypnosis really work? Okay, what is hypnosis? Is that an altered state of consciousness? Not really. It seems to be some kind of... First of all, it's hypersuggestibility. There's no question about that. There's a heavy component of social suggestibility, especially in stage hypnosis. When you get into a hypnotic state with some clinicians, it's a form of deep relaxation. Does it enhance memory? Boy, the jury's out on that. I mean, there are those cases or those anecdotal stories where, yeah, okay, they remember the last three numbers of the license plate now, but they didn't remember before. Supposedly, it gets rid of some of the mental distractions and allows you to call up the memory. What about age regression hypnosis? Well, I can spell that out here shortly. No, age regression hypnosis where I'm 3 years old and there's my aunt and she has, that's that same red sweater that she always wore. And Uncle Fred, look at that. You know, I never remembered Uncle Fred without a mustache, but he didn't have a mustache at my 3rd birthday party. No, age regression hypnosis is kind of a hodgepodge of stuff that people conjure up. And definitely, when we do past life regression hypnosis. Yes, I'm calling up a memory of, I lived in India. That's right. I was born in India in my past life. I remember that. And I can prove it because, look, here's where I was born, and I've never, ever been there before. And they check it out, and sure enough, it's exactly as he described it. Yeah, well, that could also be that he certainly doesn't remember either seeing a movie or reading a book or seeing a picture of that place. That happened to me once. I had a déjà vu experience. I was first hired at the Columbiana County Mental Health Center in Lisbon, Ohio. Lisbon, Ohio had this nice little central kind of park with this gazebo in the middle of it. It was real cute. And when I first went there, the first time I visited this little town, I had this really strong feeling. I've been here before. Why is this so familiar to me? I have no idea. And I thought, well, it's one of those mysterious things. I realized later, I had a couple of friends who wanted to take a bike trip across the U.S. They didn't make it, but they went pretty far. And they went on the old Route 30, Lincoln Highway, which goes right smack through the middle of Lisbon, Ohio. One of the trips that they took in a car, because they wanted to show me their bike trip path, I fell asleep. I got tired. So they're driving and they're bringing up all their memories of their places that they went and where they slept on the side of the road and where they parked their bikes and all this. And that's kind of like watching a home movie. After a while, I fell asleep. However, and I don't know how they reminded me of this or told me of this, they woke me up when we were in Lisbon, Ohio, because they wanted to show me that gazebo. I was half asleep, don't remember a thing. It was just this fuzzy, vague, semi-twilight consciousness. I saw the gazebo and I immediately fell back to sleep. And there you have it. So, in fact, I had been to Lisbon, Ohio, but I had no memory of it until my friends told me, we took you through Lisbon, Ohio, and you woke up very briefly because you were bored to snot. And because of that, it explained my deja vu. So you got to be really careful. Does hypnosis work? Yeah, about a third of people can be put under a reasonably hypnotic state, whichever that is, and there's still debate on exactly what that is. There are clinicians who do it, and they're good at it, and it depends upon the problem they're trying to solve. For example, hypnosis seems to be most effective for circumscribed problems, quitting smoking, maybe developing a post-hypnotic distaste for some kind of food that is a problematic food. I just eat too many donuts. So the more circumscribed the problem, but you're not gonna hypnotize somebody into being less of a jerk. Well, you're gonna be much more honest. After I snap my fingers, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be an honest person. Nah, that's not likely to happen. I remember once when I was at the VA in Brecksville, Ohio, we had a guy come in who was a clinical hypnotist. And he wanted to hypnotize several of us interns. And a couple of the girls, they went out. They went out fast. And I remember kind of going, well, I kind of wish I could experience this. But, as he's trying to lull me into a state of very deep relaxation here, I wasn't going anywhere. And I think that does speak to my own personality of not wanting to be in control of myself. But later, it was interesting, he gave the girl a post-hypnotic suggestion that every time he said a certain word, she was going to scratch her arm. Her arm was going to itch. So snapped her, brought her out of the supposed trance, if you want to call it that she was in. And he said the word. And those of us who stayed awake during all this just kind of subtly just kind of side-eyed it. You don't want to turn and look and go, whoa, you're doing exactly what he said you do. No, we didn't say anything, but we just watched her. And kind of obliviously, she just reached down and she scratched her forearm. Now, is that going to stay with her the rest of her life? No. It's probably just going to happen a few more times until whatever it is, however the mysterious parts of the mind work like that fade away. But it was fascinating. And I remember seeing that. And I remember seeing how quickly she really kind of went into a deep state of relaxation. I mean, her eyes were closed and she wasn't snoring, But she was kind of gone. And I was fascinated by it all. I just sat there thinking, I must be one of those third of people who just can't be hypnotized. And then the old, can you be made to do anything post-hypnotically that you wouldn't otherwise do morally? No, not likely. And again, so it all comes down to that. Okay, speaking of hypnotism, speaking of you people getting tired, you can wake up now because the program is almost done. I appreciate the company. Andrew Kruchek, producer man, Eric Dumont, call screamer man, and all of you folks who called in with the helpful suggestions of how to get little kids to go to bed. God's a practical joker, isn't he? Wouldn't you like to just sleep all you want? And you got to look back on it and go, you could have at one time, and you fought it. That ain't fair. Walk with God. That is the best relaxing one.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.